Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles the Bands, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a very interesting show in store for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about one of the biggest disasters currently this NBA season in the Milwaukee Bucks. Just 2 years ago, or just a season and a half ago, or season ago, people were out there saying that they felt like the Milwaukee Bucks were going to win the NBA championship. Why did they feel that way? Well, you were looking at a perennial playoff team, although they've been bounced out of the playoffs a few times. You're looking at a team that had won the championship about 2 years prior. And then you're looking at a team that had added, Damian Lillard, who is a 25-plus point per game scorer, one of the greatest distance shooters the NBA has ever seen, and a player that we felt like wasn't getting his proper shine and wasn't given the best opportunity to excel to get to a championship, given the team and the market that he played in, because maybe in Portland, maybe some stars would be reluctant to go there. So they paired him with Giannis. And there were people out there that felt, man, this team could win a championship. But last year, things didn't go the way that they wanted them to. And they ended up losing in the first round. Giannis got injured, but there were also some issues that were plaguing the team. One of them was apparently at the coaching position, because out of nowhere, the team elected to fire their then head coach, Adrian Griffin, who, by the way, had a winning record with the ball club. They fired him and replaced him for a coach that sent the entire NBA community into just basically total laughter when we heard Doc Rivers were getting a job. I actually put up a post on my Instagram laughing at it, like, you can't make this up. I was like, Doc Rivers must have the best agent in all of basketball. You just can't make it up. So they signed Doc Rivers. That didn't work out. Then we get to the beginning of this season, and we're looking at training camp, and then we start hearing things from Giannis when he says, man, if we don't figure it out this year, I may get traded. And we're like, what is that about? Then you start hearing word of Giannis and Dame didn't have an offseason together where they worked out. You're like, what's that about? Then we got news that Chris Middleton was going to be out for pretty substantial amount of time. We're like, where's all of this going? And then the season starts. And folks, as we sit here on November 12th, the Milwaukee Bucks are sitting in the bottom, basically, of the Eastern Conference with a 2-8 record, riding a 2-game losing streak. I think the last loss they had was to the Boston Celtics, where Giannis decided that it was time to be the joker of the game and try to get Jaylen Brown to give him a high five. Then he pulled away, and Giannis thought that was a beautiful moment. I thought the whole thing was just absolutely ridiculous given how your team is performing. So what happened? This morning I was going through the internet, and I came across a pretty interesting soundbite from Bill Simmons from The Ringer, who actually said that he believes that Giannis will be traded. And then what really surprised me was the landing destinations he proposed. So what we want to do is we're going to play what Bill Simmons had to say here, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
I think the Giannis trade stuff is really going to start. People making up fake trades. And the Nets are like pretty good. I think they can just go all in for Giannis. They have just a shitload of picks. They have Cam Thomas, who I was really impressed by, who's a very good scorer. Cam Johnson. They have Nick Claxton. They have Schroeder's playing really well. I like them. I actually think they're a playing team at least. Because people are going to ask this week, who's the team that makes sense for Giannis? They're going to be like, what about Miami? What about... I actually think it's Brooklyn. They can just overwhelm Milwaukee with all these picks. Like, they just can say, hey, Milwaukee, here's Ben Simmons' expiring contract, and here are all these picks. Just take all of them. Take as many as you want. Give us Giannis and put Giannis in Brooklyn. I think it makes sense, because I think Milwaukee needs to get out of this. And to me, it's either Brooklyn or Houston, because Houston's the other team they have picks and young players. It's just like, if I'm Giannis, would I rather go to Brooklyn or Houston? I don't know.
So you heard what Bill Simmons had to say. What are my thoughts on what he had to say? Well, let's look at the Brooklyn Nets. And by the way, I heard there was some news about Ben Simmons yesterday, who had 12 assists 10 assists in 12 minutes. If we look at the Brooklyn Nets right now, they're currently the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference, but the Eastern Conference is historically trash. So they're the 5th seed with a 5-6 record in the East. So, but nevertheless, they're still in the playoff picture. Let's look at the Brooklyn Nets roster right now. Who do they have? They have Cam Thomas, who's a promising young star. We have Dennis Schroeder, who's an established scoring point guard in the NBA. We have Cameron Johnson, Zaire Williams, Jalen Wilson, Nick Claxton, who's a good piece that I'm sure they like, Keon Johnson, Noah Clowney, of course, Ben Simmons, the man himself, Uncle Ben, Shake Milton, Tyrese Martin, Dariq Whitehead, Trendon Watford, and Bojan Bogdanovic, and they have a few other players there. Now, if you listen to what he said that they could offer them a bunch of picks and basically a bunch of players to send them over to Milwaukee. But the question then becomes, there are two questions. One, is Milwaukee ready to go into a rebuilding phase? Because if you trade away Giannis Antetokounmpo, essentially you have basically conceded that you're ready to go into a rebuild phase. And if that's the case, if you're going to trade away Giannis, then you might as well trade away Damian Lillard and start the whole thing anew. Just totally reboot the organization. So you have to look at it from that aspect. And now let's look at it from the aspect of Giannis Antetokounmpo. What would Giannis gain by going to the Brooklyn Nets? Well, number one, obviously, change of scenery, playing in a bigger market. But does it enhance his chances of winning a championship? And I think the answer is a resounding hell no. Not a no, a hell no. Because even if Giannis Antetokounmpo joins the Brooklyn Nets, I still don't think they're going to be ahead of any of the other teams at the top of the East right now. The Cavaliers are basically making NBA history right now on their 12-game winning streak to start the season. You have the Boston Celtics, who are number 2 in the Eastern Conference, and I will still put the Philadelphia 76ers, if they're healthy, when they get back Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid and Paul George, and these guys are playing well together with Kelly Oubre. I will still put them there. So the Bucks would probably be a middle of the pack team. Excuse me. Giannis, the Brooklyn Nets, would probably be a middle of the pack NBA team anyway. Now, there are some other sleeper moves that can be made, but I think if those moves ever get made, it would be blockbuster moves. I've heard some rumors out there. Oh, well, the Lakers are talking to the Bucks. The Lakers ain't talking to the Bucks about nothing. The Lakers are not talking to the Milwaukee Bucks about absolutely nothing, because the Milwaukee Bucks will have nothing to say to the Lakers if they're not talking about giving up Anthony Davis, because they're not going to trade LeBron because LeBron is too old. So if the Lakers aren't serious about trading AD, then there's nothing to talk about. So the Lakers are not talking to the Milwaukee Bucks, and Giannis is not going to go to the Lakers for cap space reasons, for chemistry. It just won't work. So that's out of the question. Just bad fit, no fit. Let's move on to the next story. Let's look at the another team we've heard. The Golden State Warriors. Could that work? Yeah, it could potentially work. It's not necessarily what the the Golden State Warriors like to do, because throughout their dynasty run, I haven't seen them play with a dominant big man like from a consistent basis. Obviously, they had DeMarcus Cousins, but he wasn't the DeMarcus Cousins we all knew. And Giannis has a totally different game. The Golden State Warriors are based off of ball movement, efficiency, being able to hit shots and all of that. So I'm not sure how he would work in that system there. We've also heard other suitors like the Miami Heat. We've heard that as well. Other potential destinations he can go to. Just off of the time, it all depends if Giannis wants to win. If he wants to win, then the Lister teams are not, they're a bit limited. But you also have to look at it from both standpoints. What team would take whatever assets that team has to offer, and is that a destination that Giannis would be willing to go to? So he's presented the Brooklyn Nets as a possible suitor. Yes, if you look at it from, a business standpoint in terms of the picks and the salaries, it could potentially work. He brought up dumping Ben Simmons' salary. That could be attractive, although he's in the final year of his contract. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Nevertheless, the situation in Milwaukee is a bad one. It's a bad one, and I really don't know how they plan on turning it around. But maybe some of you guys have some thoughts on this. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we'll catch you on the next show. Peace.